and for so many exciting reasons. Kelly, Harvey, who you all know, Harvey is the franchise show. Kelly is the Awesome Journey with Christy Howard. We're here to really focus on LinkedIn live streaming strategy and why one should start to really consider it seriously, and the value it's given to all of us, and more importantly, collectively, and then extending beyond that to our collaboration group. So, with that said, chat's wide open. Looking forward to being responsive. And until someone comes through with chat, we'll start with Kelly. Kelly, why don't you share a little bit of who you are for those who may not know you and what you're so excited about this Monday morning?
Yeah, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from. Yeah, feel like we were just here, which is so great. But time is moving way too fast lately. I don't know about y'all, but it is for me. Um, which I guess it's good. I guess that means things are going well, and I'm doing so many things that I love. And yeah, for those of you that don't know who I am, you need to watch this show more often, one. And two, you need to also watch The Awesome Journey, which is on Tuesdays at 1:11 p.m. Eastern Time, um, which is the live stream I started a few months after doing a live stream with Don Cohen last year, which we just hit our year anniversary in January, which seems crazy that it's already been a year. Um, but yeah, so there's so many exciting things coming this year, and I'm still I'm so excited about all of them because all of these pieces are kind of starting to come together. You know, Jason Wilson, who I met through Don Cohen. Jason Wilson was a guest on Don's show last year. And I just started doing work with him on the Freedom Fight Expo, which is a monthly event that is focused around faith and mental health, which is incredible. We had our inaugural event last month or earlier this month. It's the second weekend of every month. And it was the most moving experience. I mean, I ended the 3 days and was just like, wow, I'm a better person for doing this or for being part of it. But how it ties back into live streaming is, and I talk to people all the time and ask them why or why not do they have live stream in their strategy or if they're considering it. None of these things that I'm currently doing, which I love, I mean, it lights me. I can't wait till Tuesdays every week. And don't get me wrong, I love being here on Mondays and Thursdays, part of the things that I also look for. But there's something special when it's a topic that hits you on a different level. Mental health, helping our vets and first responders, it is huge for me. And just sharing stories with others, because I think that allows for healing for so many that will never even know that it helped heal. But all of it is possible because of live streaming. Um, I have been able to connect with people on such a different level from live streaming. You become friends with people like instantaneously, some of them, and they're just deep, purposeful relationships. And I would never have had all of these things happen over this last year had I not started live streaming. And I just want to sort of, I saw this incredible post over the weekend. And I'm not a Hollywood person. If anybody knows me, like that's just not my jam. I'm not like a freakish fan of anyone that lives in such an elite place that they don't understand the rest of us. But there was someone, it was Julia Roberts actually. She posted a picture of her and her niece playing cards. And it was a very special picture because her and her niece were spending time together, having coffee. And she got so much pushback, or so much, I should say, crappy messages, because people were saying how crappy she looked. She looked ugly. Why would she post such a heinous picture of herself? And then people started arguing in the comments. And her message was, all I could think is it hurt my feelings and what that does to young people, because we are emotionally so connected to what likes, comments, things that we get on social media. It does impact us. And that was my initial fear of doing a live, because I thought, ooh, I don't know that I'm going to be able to handle people coming at me. But they don't do that on LinkedIn. I have never seen one negative comment to anyone that I know saying anything. And I think when you strip that away, the fear, because I believe people are afraid of that. I don't want to take away from my message, my product, my service by dealing with trolls. I don't see the trolls on LinkedIn. I think they've done a really good job of sweeping out the bots. So I guess I start that off as, maybe a little bit of a digression, but as a reminder, hey, don't be afraid of it. And understand we didn't all start like this. I mean, we look at our first videos or how we felt when we first started, and it was scary. Not gonna lie. And we've learned so much, but it's so worth taking the chance. Because like I said, I would never have the opportunity to work with such incredible people, do collaboration groups with some incredible people that I likely never would have had because there's no message or automation email string that you can put in anyone's inbox that can create this. Um, so wow, I don't think you probably planned on me saying that much to start with, but there you have
But it's also based on experience, and our experiences are fresh, right? When we're training, it's what we just learned yesterday or what we learned together. But what I found, it was the community and the collaboration of each other to keep
Yes.
each other in the game, right? To allow for someone to get to learn and practice and get confident and get comfortable because you were having fun with them no matter what the audience was thinking. And if you're having fun with them, they're having fun watching you have fun.
Yes.
And I think that's the key. What I see live streaming is the highest form of lead generation, which means that you're going to attract people because of your live stream, because of your show, because of your influence, because of your reputation, because of your confidence. All of that couldn't have happened to any of us if the media wasn't that strong that would take you anywhere faster than anything else out there with better people. And I think the other thing, it changes the perspective of I'm going to connect with somebody and then we're going to do something versus I'm going to get to know somebody and get to know somebody, right? Like
Yeah.
Todd DeWitt is a great example. He loves our group, he loves our show, and anytime that there's a spot, he's happy to come. But it's because of him learning from us and also another way of teaching in another format. And I think that's where the huge value is trade in your scooter for a Ferrari, that's built for high performance and change your life because you change your people in your life. I think that's the ultimate key. So you use this to attract people for a benefit to them, which is exposure, which is great conversation. And we all have quality shows because we're all service oriented and generous with their time, to allowing them to shine because we're here all the time. We could be here. There's no limit, 8 hours a day if you wanted to. Just keep tuning in and participating. So Harvey, you've got the benefit of two steps already in place.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I'm fascinated listening to both of you, and I couldn't agree with you more. Just to start in the same way as Kelly did, just to introduce myself. Most people know who I am here in this community, hopefully. But if you are here for the first time, my name is Harvey. I am from the UK. I have my own LinkedIn live show, my own live stream, which was born of the two lovely people that are sitting here and the wonderful community that we sit within. My show is called The Franchise Show. It's also on a Tuesday, and it's at 12:15 Eastern or 5:15 GMT. Let's give a shout out for the UK time zone there. And I couldn't have learned everything that I did about engagement with a professional community if it wasn't for learning best practices of live streaming with these two wonderful people. But it's a way to engage with a community that I cannot find any other ways of doing that. Like you said, Don, if you connect with somebody on LinkedIn, most people think, well, what's next with that? and a lot of people make the very simple mistake of thinking the next thing on from that is it's a professional community. So they think, well, I'll tell people what I do and offer them my services, which is not the next step. And I know that, Kelly, you're very passionate about that not being the next step.
Yeah.
But I think what people don't know is they first of all, they've got to realize that's not the next step. Then they've got to realize what the next steps could be to engage with an audience. And when we say engage, Kelly, you spoke of likes and comments, but actual true engagement is a two-way conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's bringing somebody else up as well at the same time, and it's getting to know someone. So a like or even a comment on a post isn't really as engaging as a community like this. When I stop banging on in a minute, Don will bring up the lovely comments of everybody that's here, and we'll talk about those because we are all learning together, and that's the power of using live streaming. No, every business out there could use this platform and the method of live streaming to reach an audience and to really start engaging with an audience and adding value. It is simple in some ways, but it needs good best practices. And we're going to give the advantages of sharing mistakes, mishaps, and good fortune of over 1,000 shows, or certainly close to that. And I think if you can, and my show is all about franchising. Franchising is all about buying time. That's exactly what you're doing. You're buying other people's mistakes. You could run a business yourself. If you use a franchising model, you're buying the fact that someone's already done that. Well, exactly the same here. You're buying into the fact that 3 people have already done this and learned, tried and tested things to get to a point that no other set of 3 people are at. So it's a great place to have this discussion. I always love talking to my fabulous friends, and I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone's got to say.
Well, you're not only talking, but teaching your friends
or learning.
You're learning, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key is, since I dropped weekends, I've worked even harder on weekends on live streaming and strategy. I invited tons of people to Zooms I'm having. I figured new ways of attracting people who are exactly where we are and where we want to go. And there's a pivot to everything here. And I think what Harvey and Kelly just pointed out is the typical progression leads you to where everybody meets and nothing happens. Right? So you find somebody and you connect with them. You connect with somebody and maybe you start commenting and liking because now they're in your feed. And I think that's what connections will do. And then maybe you get the courage or the desire to have a Zoom call. Well, now you're having a conversation, but it's still going to end up with, oh, I'm so impressed with what you're doing and who you are, but I'm not into that right now. And if I ever change or I know somebody, that's how it ends. And even if it continued, now you're getting into a contractual situation, right? Okay, I want to use your services. Okay, what's your fees? What's your scope of your work? Blah, blah, blah. What we're doing is cutting right to, hey, I want to see how we work together on a live stream. Right? I mean, you're actually inviting someone to be a colleague and not a connection, not a conversation, not a comment I'm like, and when you say 1,000 shows, you're also saying at least 1,000 people. Now, it could have been the same people, but every show had a person and a lot of times 2 people. So for every show, you've actually directly been in the same vehicle with. And you've now projected to everybody an audience, and that's not nearly as big as when it gets out there in the universe on YouTube and everything else, and people share it, people see it, and we haven't even got to the repurposing part. So the point is what I find fascinating is everybody on LinkedIn has already registered for LinkedIn. So we're not telling people go to LinkedIn and be a LinkedIn person, right? And I think because of that, and then everybody's on LinkedIn who's doing anything is working, putting time in, putting thought, whether it's a post, whether it's a comment, whether it's a connection request. You know, the only smart thing I believe with all my heart is to take that and move it to live streaming. You know, it's just like if you were a financial advisor and you would say, hey, all your money's in something that, you know, I wouldn't put all my money in that, put it that way. And you would diversify. But ultimately you would say, where do I get the highest return? But I think one even level higher, and it's even hard to verbalize, is the transformation in yourself. Because you're not just looking to acquire or engage something, because that's where you were when you wanted it. Once you have arrived, to say, hey, this is a better station than the one I was thinking about going to. Or, hey, I found a hotel that's like miles ahead. We'll stay here. And I think that's why someone should make the switch. You know, and tomorrow you can do yesterday again if you don't like what you started fresh today. So like everybody suggests, can't thank the audience enough. Never would have been able to go this far without an audience.
Nope.
Dennis is here. Dennis is a great guy, you know, and you get to know people just by being around them, seeing them, and following them. On LinkedIn, they don't come at you, but after you. You're so right. To learn and grow and get in the know, not the know. Beverly is another member of the collaboration group, does every Tuesday. She's just so smart, but so prodigiously industrious. I mean, she's always doing the pre-promotional for every one of her Tuesday shows. She's got my picture and she's got the guest or just us. She follows it up, you know, and I think that's important is when someone goes from soup to nuts, you know, from A to Z and completes the whole picture versus grab and run and leave something behind. So thank you, Beverly. And now we have Omar, another gentleman who is always so generous and kind and thoughtful. I've been on 2 of his shows. I know Harvey's been on the show, I believe, the show Who Is, and I was even fascinated by some. 3 of us. Well,
no, I haven't been on that one. I've been on Zoom Party.
Omar,
It's good.
Harvey would love to come on a show. Agree, have fun and get it done. Live streams are so much better than dead stream or screen. Dennis is on a roll. Agree, Harvey is well tucked in LinkedIn. Hey, that's a good one.
That's fabulous.
If you ever run for office, that might be a slogan. Exactly. LinkedIn is about connection.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really about you. You know, how do you come across? How worthwhile are you for someone that you could like, why am I even sitting next to this person, is now honoring you with saying, I want to know more about what you're thinking or what you're doing or how we could do something. And I think that third party validation makes it, wow, I must have changed if these people are doing that. So Kelly, I mean, it's so great to, you know, some people, you know, they can't wait for Fridays. I can't wait for Mondays, you know, just to get the ball rolling. So Kelly.
Yeah, I actually, it's so funny. I just messaged Jason this morning, Monday, you know, the Mon-YAY. We always do that for Friday, because it's Friday. The week is over. But it's like, why don't we do that on Mondays? What a great way to frame your week, right? Yay, it's Monday. I get to do this. And I want to go back to a couple of things that you all said, which all of it was so great. But made me think of a few things. One, I'm terrible at talking about myself because I'm like, I still didn't say what I actually do. I am a marketing and business consultant and leadership coach. And in live streaming, I'm telling I know so many people that when I say accidental consultant, they're like, oh my God, me too. Or they think in their mind, oh, maybe I am also. I'm in a group chat for job seekers and recruiters. And every single day, I see all these people that are talking about the struggles of getting work and how long they've been out of work. Because people aren't out of work anymore for 4 weeks, 8 weeks. It's long. I mean, I know people who've been out of work for well over a year, and can't even and are struggling just to get something even at a lower level. Um, and in any event, one of the things that we talk about is while you're out of work, because it can be, again, this is one of the things that made me so passionate about live streaming. Everybody's going through something. And especially if you're a job seeker, um, it takes a toll on you emotionally, in so many ways. And, thinking about while you're job seeking, why don't you think about putting together something maybe that you could do separately? Start your own business, create your dream job. And I'm not saying that's an easy path, like just because you make up your mind to do it, that it's not going to be heavy lifting. But a way to do that is through live streaming. I mean, it honestly is such a good way because, a word that I hear a lot of people lately are saying is overused, because it was the word of last year, which is authentic or authenticity, which is fascinating because AI is so taking over and it is not authentic in its messaging. You can tell, I mean, the way that it is. But people like to see the human side of people. Harvey's post is an example that he does every Sunday. I think is beautiful. And I love that he goes out of his way to try to help others. That's just an authentic thing that he does. He could stop doing it and nobody would think anything of it because Harvey does the franchise show and he helps others with whether it's franchising or live streaming, collaboration, connection. But he doesn't need to help job seekers, but he does because he can and why not? And it's but again, it's a different way to connect with people because when they see you, you get a human connection from live stream. And the reason it's so much more powerful than even some video, and I'm as a marketer, I will say produced video 100% has its place. But the power of live streaming is because when we're sitting here looking at you, you feel part of the conversation, and it is a physical connection that we feel. And we've said that with so many guests that have come on that I wished we could have had a video of them before we went live and to the end of it. Because there have been a few people that are more exciting than others to watch because they'll be so nervous at the beginning and a little bit like, oh God, what am I going to say? What if I mess up? But by the end, they're so excited because they feel connected. They forgot the fact that this is live. People are watching me. I got to be careful what I say. It's just a conversation. And then people relate to that. And Leslie does this, and I shouldn't be. I'm not calling you out at all, Leslie, if you are listening. But I do this all the time, and I love that she calls herself out as well. I lose my train of thought sometimes halfway through a sentence, and it's just like, whoops, stuff happens. But people relate to that and like the human part because none of us are perfect. That's why collaboration and working with one another has been so important, and community helps push us to continue to move forward. We can be like, oh my God, y'all, I just had an episode where there was no comments because something was up with LinkedIn and it threw me off and it was making me feel so weird. Have you been having the same issues? And then the final thing this round, I did have someone reach out to me this weekend, and it's a friend who actually moved to Nicaragua, but she's going to be back here in Arizona for a while. And she said, can I come over sometime and see the behind the scenes before you go live? And I kind of chuckled to myself because I was like, wow, there's nothing glamorous because the heavy lifting is pre-event and post-event. But when you do the event, it really is just about getting people on the call and pushing go live. So I'm like, I'm happy to have you come over, but it'll be a little bit of a disappointment on the true thing because it's not a production to do it. It's beforehand. What do I need to do to connect with the person, set up the event, invite people to the event, a promotion. I mean, all the things. That's where the work is. But the actual going live, that isn't the part that's rough, and it's not like somebody's going to see it and go, oh my God, that's so amazing. It's actually quite, I would think, a letdown. Like, really, that's all you do to go live? Yes, yes, it is. It's that simple. So those are my thoughts this time around, y'all.
Well, here's, you have so many great thoughts because it creates more thoughts for me and Harvey, and all of a sudden we got hybrid thoughts, that
Yeah.
were created and stimulated by what someone else just said. Is we've got tremendous advantage in numbers because of all the shows we've done to anybody who comes on for the first time. They're not at that level. And we have an advantage because they don't know what to expect from us, right? They don't know if they're coming into a wolf's den or a nice pasture with a bunch of lambs. And when they escape after an hour and everything was great and everything was positive and the fears weren't realized and the audience was with them, we have to realize we're on a world stage. And ultimately, you grow into being worldly. When I see some of these legends of rock, right? Every one of their stories was we were eating ketchup with water to make tomato soup, and just get, we were one day away from running out of gas, and our record went, or someone booked us. And everybody's one step away from being world class if they're working with world class opportunities. It's not us. It's the representation of what we discovered and now how we have really evolved. And it gets exponential because you're building on stronger knowledge. And all of a sudden you're working with nuance, a facet. Did you see this? If you do this, you tweak it a little, it does that. And then you had to do cleanup. This weekend, I had so many requests, when you invite people to events, I went back and I started getting rid of them. It didn't take long to figure out how I could do it pretty fast.
I wish we could select multiple to unsend or whatever, but you have to do it one at a time. It's such a
Yeah,
pain.
but if you put your mouse in the same place, you don't have to just keep clicking, it'll get rid of it. So you don't have to do one at a time, you just machine gun it and you can get 30, 40 out of the way. But anyways, that's something I learned by doing, and it's something I had to go back and say, I got to do some cleanup. And then sometimes you go to your profile and you see some areas you haven't touched in 4 months, like the about me or interest or whatever it is. So I'm saying it's constant, but those who really commit themselves to a better way of doing LinkedIn will commit themselves to a better quality of life, right? So even if you get beyond the monetization and how much did I make and how much time did I spend, how fulfilled am I by who I'm surrounding myself with? Where you walk out and all of a sudden, and it's your stage on top of it. You're not waiting for permission. You're not waiting for a gatekeeper to say it's okay. You become the gatekeeper. And then everything switches, right? And I think that's so important for people to know. Is there one step or two away? And that's what me and Kelly and Harvey are really focused on. How can we share this with more people faster in order to get them to experience what we have? Because if anything else, it's a statement of abundance. We know there's more here than we could ever take advantage of. And we know how hard and long and challenging it was to learn everything. Even though when I was doing it, I thought I was great then. And then I found out, wow, if you thought that was good, wait till you do it with others. And then all of a sudden people become pathfinders. That's one thing about this. You don't want to always be the leader. You want to be a follower. You don't always want to be a teacher. You want to be a student. And I think when you put that all together, there is no ego or pride involved. It's really achievement. So Harvey.
Well, I want to give up my particular spot this turn because we got lots of comments here.
Oh, okay.
I think we should get to some people. I will quickly pick up one of the things that Alexander has said, because I thought it was an interesting one to look at. And then perhaps we can get to some of the others. But they say, I had a question to the team. How do you draw the line regarding engagement? I get tons of requests and people trying to sell me something, and it's hard to keep track with who I should engage and who's just selling. Can you experts share some light on that? I wanted to pick up on that and give my thoughts on that one.
Please.
So
Great question.
it's a fantastic question. And I think it can be answered within the confines of a LinkedIn Live. So one of the reasons you don't know who to engage with is because you don't know those people. And you've got a choice. You can either have a Zoom call and finish those fairly rapidly if you think that person's not for me, or if you start and if you work out who your audience is. So I don't know, Alexandra, which audience you're trying to reach, but if you work out who that is, start accepting connections from people within that audience, and then build a live show around that audience. What you will then find is, just like you've commented here today, and we're bringing up the comment, we're talking about it, and we're seeing what you've got to say, and you're hearing what we've got to say. Suddenly you're getting to know us and we're getting to know you. And it would only be after 2 or 3 episodes of that exchange happening again, you'd think, actually, this is a person that I would like to spend a bit of time having a Zoom call. So the LinkedIn Live can almost be like a filtering process
100.
where you're getting to know people. You know, I've been in sales all my life, and you need to be able to filter down when you've got whether that's a sales funnel or just a funnel of people you're thinking of getting to know. And if you've got 1,000 people at the top and really you're going to engage with 20 people, you need to know who those right people are. And you don't want to miss a gem within that. So use LinkedIn Live is my thoughts on this, to grow that community and get to know people within it, including some of those people that have sent a request, because you can just say, look, I'm doing a show, check it out. If they don't check it out, or they don't make any effort at all, then they probably weren't the contact, the person you want to connect with. So that was my thoughts on that particular point, which I think is excellent, by the way.
I just, bravo. And I can't help but bring up my whole thing about, Alexander, one of my big pet peeves, if you haven't watched this much before, and you can see this on my profile, being in marketing and, of course, working with many sales teams over my career, one of the things that I cannot stand on LinkedIn is the dreaded pitch slap, that when you connect with someone, or even before you're connected with someone, and they're sending you their pitch on how their thing can fix everything that's wrong with your business. And it's like, well, your thing doesn't even apply, or you don't even know what I do need because we haven't had a conversation, which I just think is a huge mistake. And a lot of automation that people use these days, it's not good. Like, you need to stop it, because when you're sending something, and even though you're customizing it and putting the name of the top company in someone's profile, your thing may not apply to what someone has. So when people say, the awesome journey, and they'll be like, Dear Awesome on my business page. And it's like, seriously, come on now, like, stop that. But another little nugget of advice, Alexander, is people that you like their content, or that you admire, see who's following them, see who's making comments. I love it when someone sends me a connection request with a note, and I do the same thing. Hey, I've noticed you making comments on these posts. We have a mutual connection. Love what you're saying. Let's connect. I'm not trying to make a sale or doing anything else. And getting on a call to see if you can do something, if there's synergy, that's great. But a lot of times, and I'm sorry for a lot of folks, but when you're sending me, like, you work in an SEO company or web development and these things, you're like, hey, I can help your business increase your leads by X amount. Let's get on a call. Those feel so tired to me. Like, do something original, because when I read that as an end user, I just think you're using the same thing. You're casting this broad net. And we talk about that a lot. And as far as, being more purposeful and target who you want to go after. Don't just cast this wide net. Because one of the things that I think is such a big mistake, and I say this with the whole pitch philosophy, yes, you probably gain leads out of sending those massive funnels to people, but I guarantee you, you are putting off or off-putting people permanently that will never come back to you. And that's a mistake. You've closed a door to a potential opportunity because just because you and I may not be able to do business together, and this happens all the time, y'all, we will connect each other with people. And I get that a lot. I'll have a call with someone, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I know 4 people I need to connect you with. And we'll do introductions. You never know who people know. So you never want to close a door. And I'll stop there because I can definitely keep going down that
I
path.
think you make some valid points. It looks like Harvey's going to get booked on Omar's show, so good for Harvey.
Yes. It's so fun.
You know,
You're going to love it.
thanks as a little nudge, and all of a sudden an invite comes forward. But let's go through the other comments because it would be right. This Monday is President's Day, so happy that you 3 are live and present. It's making my day. Well, you're just a wonderful guy, Dennis, and just seeing you here when you're here makes for a better show.
Hey, Paul.
Paul is here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Actually, my wife's family's from Western Pennsylvania, a little further out in the Alleghenies.
Paul is a big supporter of what I do on a Sunday and is a real supporter of job seekers. So as Kelly mentioned, every Sunday I do a post to help anybody in the world that is looking for a new job, not just to help them get a job, but to support people, to connect people, to make sure that you don't feel alone during that journey and that there are other people you can share these things with. And I do that every Sunday. I always start the post with lyrics from a song. And
I always end up singing it the rest of the day. I mean, always.
Often with my wife's help, I will mention that. But yes, Paul is a great supporter of that, and it's great to see you here today, Paul.
Well, great to see you. And I think that's another special thing we do is recognize people, bring them up on the stage through their comments, and encourage people to participate because, you know, it's one step at a time. And we have to remember sometimes we sat at the very back of the auditorium next to the exit door when we might have went to something that was strange or different. And, you know, I think, oh, look who's here. Well, Alexander's here, but Khan's here. And I can't talk enough about Khan, and I know that goes for Harvey, Kelly, and the rest of our group. And I had the privilege and honor to be the host of Khan's first show with Todd DeWitt last Friday. It was an amazing show. And can't wait for this Friday show. Actually, we're having Ford, I can't pronounce his name, but Harvey knows.
Ford Sakes, but I might have got it wrong.
Yeah, and he's going to be with Khan. So Khan's here for next 3-4 Fridays promoting his book. It's all about employee engagement. And I know me and Kelly and Harvey have such high hopes for what this could help somebody like Khan, who really does have a huge wealth of information, knowledge, and experience to share and just needs the visibility and access. So thank you, Khan. Alexander comes back with, that was so helpful and insightful. Thank you. Well, you know, we're getting into getting things done now, you know, and I'll just digress for a second because people say, what happened to the Hour of Empower, right? I mean, that was like 400 episodes and now it's more LinkedIn strategy. And, you know, there's a saying, sometimes people on the right ladder going on the wrong wall. And, you know, what I found about these shows is they're great for like self-help, mutual benefit. I was actually tuned into Leslie's show earlier, and that's, you know, Mind Over Matter. And then Friday, she has Think and Grow Rich. But at a certain point, you say, well, now everybody knows each other, likes each other, trusts each other. Why don't we start doing things that can help each other, right? Not share advice, but share strategy, share process, share training. So anyways, with that said, we've got a comment. I began joining live recently for finding authentic people. And yes, I hate the hi, how are you? Then I'll reply. And then 2 seconds, I get 3 paragraphs. I'm very happy to join this talk. Well, you know, we get to look better by how many people appear so poorly and don't even know it. So we're
Yeah.
like the default. When you're used to that and you come here, I was even thinking of a slogan, but I hesitate a little and say we're only the best will do, right? And so it really distinguishes one from, let's say, the crowd who is really into how to make money off of you than how to make money with or for you. Carl's here, another stellar success story. I attempted to label an unsolicited message as spam on LinkedIn and was informed that within their policies, unsolicited messages are not in violation of these policies. Well, it's good to know, but I want to give a shout out to Carl. He has his successful funding show, something of that nature, on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And then we have 4 shows together between Carl's, mine, Harvey's, and Kelly's. And I will say this, if you gave yourself a buffet of 4 shows every Tuesday, you'd be better for the live stream experience just for being around it. And you'll pick things up from Christy and Kelly and Harvey, different styles, different ways of doing things. And that's what makes it perfect for everybody, because everybody's an individual.
Mhm.
Everybody has strengths. Everybody has attributes. And why not let them shine, especially when you're producing, directing, and starring in your own live stream, right? So, you know, it just works so well. Here's one from Dennis. Agree, aim to please your target folks. Paul is here with a nice smiley face and a hat that signifies Harvey. Penny's here.
Oh, hi, Penny.
Wonderful lady. I'm going to have her on the show. I know she
You
writes.
wrote this book. There you go. I'm going to plug it.
Can you read it? It's showing up backwards. What's the name of it?
It's called Manual Magic, and she's going to be a guest on my show. And she's a lovely lady. And I had a conversation with Penny today, and she's all about knowledge sharing and how that can come across in an ops manual, and how an ops manual can be a huge amount more than it was. So she's a lovely lady, and thanks for being here.
Well, Penny, you know, if you've got a niche, that's where the riches are, right? Because the better you can define and distinguish and differentiate yourself as that person or representing that industry, you know, it's like a land rush, and all you got to do is start claiming areas that you can farm, service, and benefit from. So
actually, that was the other thing I was going to say, actually, while Penny's on, because a bit like Con, so Con has a book, Penny has got a book. A live stream works really, really well if you've got a book. And most people, if this is a business book, most people are looking at not necessarily promoting the sale of a book, but promoting the service that they can offer that's around that book and the story of that book. And a live stream can be such an engaging way. You've already got it separated out into chapters. They're already titled, you know, so it's anybody who is a budding author or is looking to promote a book. It's just a brilliant way to do it, because you start engaging with an audience. So I really do think it's a good way of engaging with a community when you're an author.
Well, and I think you said the key word is community. What community do you want to build? What community do you want to invite in? So some is organic, where you build it one step at a time. Some is when you engage, or you create circles, and the circles get bigger, stronger, and better with time, because everybody, you know, is out there doing something. Everybody's learning something, and everybody can come back together and share that something. And why not get to the top of the heap as fast as you can? Here's a comment from Penny, 100% true, Harvey. I have my manual magic moments based on the chapters. And, you know, I think, Penny, one of the things that's so vital is passion. It is really the love of what you do and what you're involved in, because that will get you through the lean times until you learn enough to earn enough. and the world doesn't know why you do things. It just knows where you are when you start that thing, and you need to figure out where are you in order to complete those things. But it's so much easier to have 10 people working on a jigsaw puzzle, right, than yourself, because you take a break and the puzzle's still going to get made. But here's the thing, you can do 10 times as many puzzles that way because of cost and time efficiencies. And there is something to the joy of recognition along the way, not just at the end of the journey when you complete your mission and you're happy with that. But if you can look back at every day of it and find something to laugh about, smile about, find joy in, because it really is balancing the scales. If everybody is in agreement, what's going on is an imbalance, right? People out of work, people with work, where the jobs are, how do you get them? So I think the key is cut through the chase and just start talking your talk in front of anybody who will listen to it on LinkedIn, because that's how I did it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't really have any knowledge. I just said, I'm going to start doing it. And again, Tara showed up, and that created the spark to give us 6 months worth of shows until Gretchen and all these other, Jenny and Sarah came together. But you know what? Everybody you meet, you continue to remember, and it comes back in one way, shape, or form. So no one leaves. Everybody just pauses in a sense, and you pick them up somewhere else, and you're in a better position. So I think if you're really looking to be the best you can and evolve to the highest level you can, I think that's just a wonderful pursuit. And, and having people support you along the way makes a huge difference. So Kelly, well, Penny says it's been a 40-year passion, so I caught that. Beverly, a great takeaway, guys. I have to pop off now, but terrific value. Thank you, Beverly. Such a great friend and fan of all of us, and we're out there promoting Beverly every chance we get. So Kelly, this is really so heartwarming.
I know. And I want to piggyback on what Harvey was saying about, if you're an author and you do have a book launch, this is the perfect way to do it. I mean, our guest tomorrow, Peter Friselli on The Awesome Journey, his book is launching on March 5th. And he's been doing a series of podcasts and other things pre-promoting his book, which is called The Deadly Path. And it's about Operation Fast and Furious and Bad Attorneys and how they armed the Mexican cartels, which is a fascinating story. But at the base of the whole thing, it's about honesty and integrity, because he stood up to truth and nearly got destroyed by doing so. But I think the point I want to make with all of this is we all have our own shows. We all have our own, when I say our own style, because we're all different people. But one of the things that we all do that is very similar is we're pretty much, unscripted. The only thing that we really focus on my show, and that's 100% this, we don't have a script. We are on 3 minutes before we go live sometimes, and sometimes less, to speak, because it feels more genuine and because the audience can help lead. Like Alexander, if he wouldn't have asked that question, we wouldn't have talked about that likely today. We would have gone in a different direction. But if you do have a book, or if you don't have a book, watch some lives and see what aligns with you and be like, oh, wow, that's what I do. I'm going to reach out and try to be a guest. Or if you do have a book, see which things align with you. And I think that's so important about alignment. Because guess what? We have a lot of similar guests, but not all of our guests intertwine with each other because we have very different shows that go to very different audiences. But when we do, we have no problem being like, hey, Harvey, I just connected with this awesome franchise person. I think you probably need to check them out. Which is fantastic. But you don't need to know a bunch of people that are doing lives in order to be successful in your own. You've got to start somewhere. We did. We didn't get to, and that is crazy because I do believe combined we we likely do have 1,000 shows, which is kind of crazy. Dawn having like 750 of them, like, let's be clear. um, but starting somewhere and being clear on what aligns with you as a person. Just be true to you. Don't try to be what you think people want you to be. Like, I think that's one of the most basic mistakes that people make, because people will read right through it. And even though they won't maybe be able to say in a comment like, hey, I'm not going to watch your show anymore because it feels very disingenuous, they'll just stop showing up. So just be you. Find your jam. Find your why. And even if you're not sure, go ahead and give it a whirl and try. I know other people who are wanting to start a live, and they're like, I'm not really sure what our audience wants us to talk about. They've done really good about creating their community that's very niched into what they want. I was like, why don't you do some polls and ask people like, hey, we're really excited to announce we're going to have an upcoming live coming. What would you guys like to hear us talk about? Because when your audience feels part of the process to boot, you have more engagement. I mean, which kind of makes us full circle to where we started in the beginning. So I'll keep it there, because I think we sometimes get into too far down the path where we lose people and forget like they're very much beginners on a lot of these things. But it's not as scary as y'all think. It really isn't. So I'll leave it there for now.
Well, Harvey, I learned so much from you, especially as it relates to events and other events, and how you can find somebody who is ahead of you, and be a part of their audience. If you don't look at people as competition, just because you're in the same game, the same league,
right?
At a certain point, everybody's pulling for each other, because why not, right? I mean, and the other thing is people who restrict in an open atmosphere restrict themselves. Right. I've always been one to say, go try it, go do it. Don't hold yourself back, because you owe it to yourself. And what really does, well, I'll turn to Harvey, because the question was, Harvey, how have you been so insightful into the, events that you have participated in, but also the event leaders who can now come onto your show?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And in terms of events, I mean, I'm going to take it from the angle of how you can also get noticed. I mean, LinkedIn is a platform with 1 billion people on it. Now, getting noticed amongst 1 billion people is very hard, whatever message you want to give out, and reaching the right people within 1 billion people is very hard. So the first thing that you do is you decide your niche, you decide your community. What community do you want to be engaged with? And LinkedIn have given you all the tools to be able to start to find the people. And a great way to start is when you found your niche, go onto LinkedIn, search for that niche, and search under the terms events, right? Yeah. Because within events, you'll get all of the audio events, you'll get all of the LinkedIn lives. Now, find one that you like the look of, okay, and register to attend it, and look at it and learn from it and see what's going on. But also, you're going to get a list of registered attendees, which is a ready-made list of engaged individuals who are interested in a topic very similar to yours. And then when you're looking at the show, engage with it, ask some questions, see who else is asking questions, because then out of the 200 attendees, you might find 30 people who are not only interested in the topic you want to talk about, but are engaged enough to spend the time, are engaged enough to make a comment and be part of the show. And suddenly LinkedIn and I think Penny said collaboration, not competition. So don't look at these people as competition. Look at them as friends, because they have given you a ready-made list of engaged people who you can also engage with. And there's plenty of people to go around. But I say in terms of events, you can take it down from trying to make a noise within 1 billion people. I'm going to take my example. So you search the term franchising, you get 155,000 results out of 1 billion. So you've already taken it from 1 billion to 155,000, right? You search it within events, you get 402 at the moment, but that's anywhere between 300 and 400. Now suddenly you're trying to make a noise amongst 300 or 400. How many out of those 300 or 400 are doing it relatively well? 3 or 4. How many are doing it with the benefit of everything that we've got? 1, maybe 2, but 1 probably.
Yeah.
And that's how you'll suddenly get from 1 billion people to having an event that's at the top of a search listing. But I did want to quickly touch as well, because we were talking about books, and I know we're starting to close, so this could be my finishing thoughts, but I really quite like the idea of going down the road of books here. And you can also, using events, you can become hyper local with your engagement. So let's say you've got a book launch in a particular town. Now, traditionally, you'd go along and you'd sit there and you'd sign copies and you'd sit in a bookstore all day. Now, what you can do is you can start connecting with people in your industry in that town, or search your connections to see if they're in that town. But when you invite, you can invite people that are within the right community and in that location. So suddenly you can grow a little hyper local community around an event. But I love books, and it's an interesting question that Carl's put here as to what order you should do it if you have got a book or you're thinking of writing a book. The first thing, if you're going to do an event, is to grow, make sure you have the audience, because events, you need first stage connections. So, but you need to have got enough of your book down so that you know roughly where it's at. It doesn't need to be finished, but you know pretty much what you're going to be talking about. So perhaps while you're at the final stages, start to grow your community. Then when your book's complete, you can begin your show, but you need best practices, and there's a lot of work between those times. We can help you with it all, but it's any authors out there, it's just a perfect platform to do it. So I might write a book now.
Well, everybody should write a book. Everybody has a book. It's, the key is being focused, because that's a challenge to what we do. Is it's so easy to find, like, repurposing video or doing something like that, or optimizing your YouTube channel or whatever you do. I mean, as an interesting thing, yesterday I went to LinkedIn strategy events, and I think I found about 50 of them. And from those 50, I found a few that made sense, mostly that were USA or Europe and USA. So that, the filter helps. But then I reached out to 20 people and invited them to a Zoom, and I got 10 Zoom calls, right? And I could have went to 50 podcasters and got 10 more Zoom calls, right? And I could have kept going down the line and never ended with more and more people to talk to. And I think the key is it's up to you to balance yourself, because actually in your SSI score, which we won't go into detail, has an impact on every activity. And LinkedIn rewards you for certain things and punishes you for other things. So there's an understanding, a reason for why would I do that? It just seems like work. And if there was a secondary benefit, you're going to get more exposure, you're going to get more organic reach, that makes sense. So it really is building, but maintaining, supporting. You got to be an all-around person. You've got to be able to do the everyday stuff. You got to be able to shine when you're in front of people, and you have to be authentic. I love the backgrounds we have, because it's where we live and who we are. Sometimes I see this dazzling, everything is that's not me, and it actually maybe gets people going in the wrong way. But last thing before we turn over to Kelly, Penny says, I launched mine for the Amazon bestseller campaign using LinkedIn live stream. Brilliant. There's so many ways. That's the thing, is it's a balance between art and science, what we're doing here. And you got to be both sides. I agree, Harvey. We all agree with Harvey, whatever he said. So with that, Kelly, it's 59 minutes and 54 seconds.
I know. God, it flew by. It always does. But yeah, just it's sticking on this whole book thing because it's such a great example. But also don't think you have to have a book in order to start a live. But I saw somebody this weekend. They're on a book tour because their book is launching. And every city they've been going to, they've been doing a live on social media, showing who's there and like, hey, coming to a city near you. And it just so happens to be a topic that aligns with the Awesome Journey. So the first thing I did was like, hey, this is amazing. Would love to have a show. And then this is the basis of it. Would you be open? And this was on Friday evening. And by that night, we had a call scheduled with him for next week. But the point is, he's just getting into social media for his book, but doing the lives locally, generating buzz, and it's getting him exposure to get on other shows. So there's so many things that you can do that really, and I do want to say they're not that hard. It's just about understanding, like, and I want to get the quickest, fastest way to get the quickest way to get to an end result. Y'all could go to YouTube and watch hours and hours of videos. You could. But I'm the person, I learned this so organically, which I love. This time we don't have time for that. So if you can speed it up and learn from people who have already done it, why wouldn't you? Like that's just kind of my point. It's not a scary thing. Give it a whirl. I say try something new because it is not being utilized or leveraged as much as it still shocks me that it's not. But anyways, I think it's always good to try something that scares you a little bit. And I'll end it right there.
Well, I think one of the benefits of what you just mentioned, Kelly, is not only do it, but do it with us, right? We're not sending you out in the cold somewhere or meet some stranger that might be a good person or not. We're saying, hey, if you like listening to us, could you enjoy working with us? Right? It's an easy transition at that point. And, we wouldn't be promoting this. We're not, in the 1,000 episodes, we never have been salesy. We've never been pushy. But at the same time, when we know something that has done so much for us and can do so much for people here, you owe it to yourself. You honestly do, to trust us, to trust you, to do the right thing and know the right thing after you've done it. And, that's all we're doing is really oversampling, and giving people a chance to get in the car and run it for a mile or two around the track and see what you think. Because the last thing we're going to do is hurt anybody. If we can't help, we're just going to participate versus taking someone down the wrong road. And, the thing is this is so easy after you do it that you kick yourself for thinking, why did I wait so long? And I want to be like Harvey or Kelly. I want to change my life in a year and be everything I always wanted to be and maybe never had the proper opportunity. So with that said, thank you all so much. Come back tomorrow. It's going to be Beverly and myself, and we're going to talk women's empowerment. And then it only gets better. Wednesday, I'll tell you really quickly, and don't forget the Awesome Journey, the franchise show. Wednesday is Carl and Russ Hedge, who has his show, quite a few shows, back with Kelly and Harvey, if everything works out on Thursday. And then the big new event is Con and Ford on Friday. Can't wait to see how that works out. So thanking you is not enough, so I'll have to keep coming back and thanking some more. And Penny finalizes everything with thank you all so much. Thank you, Penny. Have a lovely day. And with that said,